The big game in the Double A's this week, LaSalle and Schenectady. It's really simple. The winner of this one is the Liberty Division champion. We're going to preview that one for you. Plus,
we've got your top 5 plays from Week 5. All that and much, much more on this week's edition of the High School Football Kickoff Show presented by Keeler Honda. Let's go.
This is the High School Football Kickoff Show, presented by Keeler Honda.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another week of the High School Football Kickoff Show. I'm Marissa Jacks.
And I'm Joe Calderon. As we always do, want to remind you, grab your remotes because we got that remote vote question coming up a little bit later on. We'll have the results at the end of the show.
But as always, we're going to start with our TW3 game of the week. It's all on the line in the Liberty Division. The LaSalle Cadets are traveling to Schenectady on Friday night. LaSalle is 4-1 overall with that lone loss coming at the hands of perennial powerhouse Monroe Woodbury. LaSalle's offensive line came into the season inexperienced, but they're playing better every single week, creating huge holes for Marquise Terrell, giving Mike Murray tons of time to find the open man. Schenectady is Section 2's top-ranked team in the state. They are 11th. They've also got a ton of offensive weapons like Mark Thompson, Marcus Brandon, Nick Otati, and Anthony Cooper. But Schenectady will have to clamp down on defense this week. In 2 of their last 3 games, the Patriots found themselves trailing early on. This game is for the Liberty Division title. LaSalle's been here before, but for Schenectady, it's all new.
We haven't had too much of a winning culture, and we've been just learning what it feels like to have a lead and to keep a lead. It feels great. I mean, we put in all the hard work and it's starting to pay off, and there's nothing better than being 5-0, going for the division title.
I think across the board they've got some really talented kids, and we've got some talented kids too, but I think they're much more explosive than we are, so we've got to make sure we slow them down.
And one more reminder, that is our TW3 game of the week, Friday night at 7 o'clock.
That is going to be a monster game. All right, Bethlehem at Ballston Spa, 2 teams somewhat under the radar. The Eagles are coming off a very tough loss to Shen. They are a very balanced offense. They throw the ball just as much as they run it. B-Spa, on the other hand, no bones about it. They are a running team. In fact, they average only about 27 passing yards a game, but they are the 4th-ranked rushing team in Section 2 with close to 1,500 yards on the season, and they are quietly in the running for a high playoff seed. Everyone's talking about Saratoga, Schenectady, LaSalle for good reason, but B-Spa, they're laying in the weeds with that 4-1 record.
We know as long as we keep winning games that we're going to secure that number 2 spot in the sectional playoffs, so it feels good to know what you have to do and how you're going to do it.
And as the season starts to wind down, every game is key. Many have playoff implications, including Columbia and Shaker. Both teams have the same records in their division, and they're fighting for that final playoff spot in the Liberty Division. Columbia is a tough team that gave Schenectady problems last week. The Blue Devils actually had a chance to win that game late in the 4th quarter. Shaker's run game could give Columbia's defense a tough time. Jeremy Pryor consistently puts up big numbers, including a 300-yard performance against Colony. He's back this week. He was actually out last week with an ankle injury, but he's back, set to go. And it's a good thing because everything is on the line.
The word huge is immediate. It's the biggest game for us for the whole year. That's what I'm telling the kids, that this is what we worked for in the off season. That's why we lifted the weights. This is what we did in the to get to this point.
Well, it won't decide a division or sectional championship, but it could be a preview of the state semifinals. Undefeated Saratoga, ranked 17th in the state, taking on Section 9 power Monroe Woodbury, who is currently ranked 5th in New York State. And this is a big gauge game for the Blue Streaks because, they're playing for sectional pride. This season, Section 2 AA teams are 1-4 against Section 9 teams head-to-head. The only team with success this year against Section 9 teams, Schenectady. They beat Newburgh Free Academy a couple of weeks ago, 21-19.
All right, elsewhere on Friday night, all 7 o'clock starts. CBA at Shen, Guilderland at Albany, Niskayuna at Colony.
All right, let's get you the standings. First, we'll start with the Empire Division. Saratoga at the top of the heap at 5-0. Then you've got the Scotties nipping at their heels at 4-1. Shen a close third at 3-2. In the Liberty Division, almost identical scenarios. Schenectady at 5-0, LaSalle right behind them at 4-1. Again, that's why that head-to-head matchup is so important. The winner will be the Liberty Division champion.
All right, moving on to what could be the Class A game of the week. It's a clash between undefeated teams, Troy and Bishop McGinn. Both teams ranked in the top 20 in the state, and they're tied for first place in the Southeast Division. Troy and McGinn are guaranteed playoff spots, but this game will have a huge impact on those seedings. The Flying Horses are big up front. That's a big reason running back Fred Fitch is averaging better than 9 yards a carry. McGinn's defense has had 6 picks so far this season, and they have yet to give up more than 16 points.
They got a good quarterback. Heard they pass a little. So D-backs got to come ready to play. D-ends got to come up, hit them a little bit, make them frustrated.
Well, up north, another one of those fun rivalry games. Queensbury taking on Glens Falls this Saturday, kickoff at 1:30. Now, both teams come into this one at 2-3, but despite being a game under 500, both have legit shots at the postseason. In fact, the winner would have a serious shot at finishing second in the Northwest behind division champ Burnt Hills. Then throw in the fact that the schools are just a few minutes from each other. This has all the makings of a very close, hard-fought game.
You can throw any records, they happen to be identical, but you can throw records out the window when you get a game like this because everybody knows everybody and you see them all the time, so bragging rights are usually what this game's about.
It's a huge game for both communities and both teams, and on top of that, it's a huge game with playoff implications and standings and all those types of things, so it's big all the way around.
Moving on to the Burnt Hills Ballston Lake Spartans. They're 5-0, ranked 4th in the state. They've got South Glens Falls this week. Burnt Hills has 3 shutouts on the season, but the Spartans were in unfamiliar territory last week when they played Glens Falls. It was the first time all season they actually trailed in a game. The Indians scored first, but Burnt Hills ran off 48 unanswered points to take that game. Burnt Hills is a well-oiled machine at this point, and it's going to be tough for any team to take them down.
All right, Mo, the other 3 matchups on Friday night. We got Amsterdam at Gloversville. AP travels to Mohonasen and Lansingburg. Well, they're at Scotia Glenville. All 3 of those games, of course, 7 o'clock starts.
And here is a look at those standings. In the Northwest Division, Burnt Hills, we just told you they're 5-0, all by themselves at top. Gloversville actually 3-2. Amsterdam, Glens Falls, and Queensbury all 2-3, fighting for those last 2 playoff spots. South Glens Falls is 0-5 and moving on to the Southeast Division. McGinn and Troy 5-0. Berg 3-2. Scotia, April Park, and Mohonasen all 1-4 on the season.
All right, folks, time to get the remote handy because now we have the remote vote poll question for you. And we think it's a pretty good one. Here it is. There are 3 undefeated teams right now in Class A. Which one of these teams do you think has the best chance at winning the Section 2 title? Of course, Troy and McGinn, one of those teams, won't be undefeated, but they are all undefeated now. A for Burnt Hills, Ballston Lake, B for Troy, C for Bishop McGinn. The results of that poll question at the end of the show.
And there are a lot of good teams in Class A, so if you want to send us an email and tell us maybe you think it's one of the other teams, you can send it to hskickoff@capitalnews9.com. Maybe we'll get a chance to read some of those coming up at the end of the show.
All right, folks, stick around. We are just getting started on the High School Football Kickoff Show presented by Keeler Honda.
For the first time this season, Chalmont ranked in the top 25. This week, the Sabres traveled to Granville. We're going to have more on that matchup and the rest of the weekend's games coming up after the break.